Right, for today's video I thought it would be best to act out what happened and show you the true nature of the Pope's wild parties. Yeah! Get the booze! Okay, I got another noise complaint, so I'm probably just gonna have to tell you what happened instead of showing you firsthand. Hello! Welcome to Brain Spill, the laziest show on the internet. My name is Tank, and you'd imagine a religious figure would hold themselves up to a high standard, with humility and compassion. But, like anyone, we every now and again just need to let our hair down and just have a good grand old time. At the end of the day, we're all human. Everyone needs to do it sometimes, even the Pope. Yes, you heard me correctly, the head of the Catholic Church and sovereign of the Vatican City State. You know, the Mr. Holy Man himself, the last person who you'd believe to be a wild party animal. That is pretty much the general consensus for any pope you can think of, all 266 of them. Right, I just want to say before I carry on with this video, this is all based on written records and history, so I don't want anyone coming in the comments and coming at me for making all this stuff up. It's out there, you can go read it, I'm just telling the masses. Basically, I don't want to be smited down for making this video. However, I thought it would be rather appropriate to release it on Valentine's Day, and that will become abundantly clear very soon. Okay, so to know where the story's going, we need to go to the 16th century in Rome and what the world was like at that time. In particular, the Roman Renaissance period and the typically bloated and embellished lifestyle a lot of people led at the time. A life of excess influenced by the notorious Borgia family, the great Renaissance city was subject to much of what Pope Alexander VI and his second son Caesar did. Mainly that they decided to throw massive lavish parties for all their friends, mainly because they could, and because they could get away with it, they made them bigger and grander every single time. And yes, like any group of people that like to go out, party and have a good time, they've got an absolute wealth of stories to tell from all different parties they've attended. But there's always one party in particular which stands out from the rest. One which was so legendary that it stands out in infamy. And for these individuals, that is no different. And the party that made it into the history books was an event called the Banquet of Chestnuts. The name to this party being pretty integral as to why it is such an infamous event that happened in history. On the 30th of October 1501, the Papal Palace prepared to host a huge feast of the finest food and wines in the land, including both nobility and high-ranking officials of the Catholic Church, plus a whole bunch of hookers. Wait, what? Sorry, what I meant to say was Rome's finest ladies of the night. Yeah, that's it. Held in the official residence of the Pope himself, the Apostolic Palace has over 1,000 rooms for the partygoers to basically just have a whale of a time, and the invitations were kept to a very close circle of people. If I'm ever going to get age restricted for a video, it's probably going to be this one. An account of the banquet is preserved in a Latin diary by Protonotary Apostolic of the Master of Ceremonies, Johann Burchard. In the evening of the last day of October 1501, Caesar Borgia arranged a banquet in his chambers in the Vatican with 50 honest prostitutes, called courtesans, who danced after dinner with attendants and others who were present, at first in their garments, then naked. After dinner, the candelabra with the burning candles were taken from the tables and placed on the floor, and chestnuts were strewn around, which the naked courtesans picked up, creeping on hands and knees between the chandeliers, while the Pope, Caesar and his sister looked on. Finally, prizes were announced for those who could perform the act most often with the courtesans, such as tunics of silk, shoes, barrets and other things. To be honest with you, in my time I've been to some pretty cool parties, but nothing quite like this. And the account of what happened here is disputed, and nobody's 100% sure whether everything that occurred is 100% correct as per the history books. However, the name, the Banquet of Chestnuts, just seemed to stick for some reason. Might have had something to do with those 50 prostitutes, but that's just a guess. But yes, after dinner, the Pope would allegedly watch these ladies dance around with no clothes on, picking up chestnuts off the ground in very surprising ways. And that's a real talent, I've got to give him that. I mean, if I saw somebody do that, I'd be pretty impressed. What I thought was particularly odd about this was that as the Pope was watching on with all the festivities happening, His family was there also, including his 2 children watching on also. Yeah, pretty weird indeed. And from what you can glean from the rest of the account from Burchard, basically the night descended into an all-out orgy. And YouTube, I'm saying this in a historical context, so please don't demonetize me. Please. This is for you guys, okay? Whoever had done the best performance in their performance won prizes from the Pope himself, including silk garments and fine wares. I'd just be glad to have a piece of clothing to put back on again after all of this, I'm not gonna lie. Let's be glad video cameras weren't a thing back then. As mentioned previously, there is some debate in the community as to whether the events of what occurred here were 100% accurate and whether the written accounts made of what had occurred at the Banquet of Chestnuts can be trusted. Some people argue that these accounts may have been exaggerated by the enemies of the Borgias family to try and discredit them, which doesn't sound too unbelievable knowing that this family were quite controversial. You could imagine that they'd ruffled a few feathers in their times, and people would do anything to try and put this family down. It should be noted that many religious historians have tried to discredit what happened in these events, which a lot of people think may very well just be a way for them to improve the image of the church and to show that something like this would never actually happen. But I suppose we've only got these written records to go off, so we won't ever be 100% sure whether the events are 100% accurate. Unless we had a time machine, because out of any event in history, this is the one I'd go back to, I'm not gonna lie. Vatican researcher Right Reverend Monsignor Peter de Roo rejected the idea of the Banquet of Chestnuts even happening, saying that although the Borgias family may have given feasts at the Vatican, tries to just prove that the Borgias family, in particular the Pope at the time, would have got themselves involved in such beastly acts. He painted the Pope as a devoted Italian patriot and a tireless upholder of the best traditions of the papacy. His undoubtedly thorough research found nothing incriminating on the question of the Banquet of Chestnuts. However, it does have to be stated that the Borgias family through history are known to be quite notorious, and if you're going to think that anybody would do something like this, it's probably them. Just to show why this might be, the family have allegedly been involved in things such as nepotism, murder, incest and other things, which really does stay in a family name when it comes to something like the Borgias family. So yeah, I don't honestly blame people for wanting to try and discredit this, or either think it's not true or just forget about it, because it is pretty weird. And looking back at it now, it's something which really does stand out in the history books. What is known though, is that the time of year reaching the fall did help explain the party-going nature of everyone in attendance. Due to All Hallows being sanctified church holidays, many looked at medieval Rome where masquerading, performances and processions of all kinds were embraced. The Borgias family just dialed this up to heightened levels of debauchery. Even for him to come to this level of power must have come through some sort of corruption, mischievous behaviour or deceit. He was a pope that played by his own rules and did literally whatever he wanted to. What makes this story all the more crazy is not only who was there and what took place, but where it was. This apparently happened in the Apostolic Palace in the Vatican City, one of the holiest places in the world and a focal point of the Catholic faith. The importance of such a place makes it hard to believe that such acts could even happen within its walls, which is why it's so understandable that there's such controversy and division of opinion as to exactly what happened, just because of the sheer contrast between the events of what occurred back at the Banquet of Chestnuts to what people would see the Catholic Church as today. Any future retellings of these events have been toned down a little bit in the 19th and 20th century, but all it takes is a little look back through history to find out what people thought truly happened. Many people believe that the events of what happened on the night were true. However, that isn't necessarily a bad thing, mainly because it goes to highlight the imperfection of humans and the fact that they have weaknesses, desires and flaws. This is for everyone, even someone who is a senior religious figure. Like I said before, as the story is retold and rejigged throughout time, certain details may be exaggerated and others may be swept under the carpet. Either way, I don't think we'll ever know the truth as to exactly what happened, but people are still probably going to argue about this for the next 200-300 years in the future. So there's not too much reason to get stuck up on it now, is there? Out of all of this, however, there's one thing I've got out of it which I think everybody can agree on. They knew how to bust a nut. If you liked the video, be sure to like and subscribe. If If you want to be notified as soon as I upload my next video, be sure to hit the bell button. And if you've got any ideas for what topics you'd like me to discuss next, let me know down in the comments below. As always, sources used in the video will be in the description. Right, well, just a little bonus behind the scenes fact for you all. I had to look at a list online, mainly to see if Pope Alexander VI was on it. And this is a list on Wikipedia of sexually active popes. And no, I'm not lying, that is an actual list online, and that is a list that I had to check for the purposes of this video. I'll see you guys in the next video. Fantastic.